morning. Hey now, PSW staff, clients, and we have our friends joining us for welcome to Wednesday's class. It's a short week this week because of Martin Luther King, but the holiday. And yesterday we looked at your film scoring assignment. So get it into me by today for Jules and Jim, a scene that had no music, which is a little odd. You'd think that you'd put music there, but we're going to add our own music to it. Very freeing sense, that freeing image of them racing on that bridge that symbolizes youth, right? And freedom and rebellion, perhaps, and all these great little themes. So today we're going to look at Mozart again, because we talked about him over a year ago. And I want to revisit some themes for tomorrow's class, but we need a foundation. So that's why I'm kind of re-editing, replaying some of these things. And this is so fun I get to do with you guys, because now that we have a foundation, we have relevance, right? So when I talk about terms, you already know these things because we've talked about them. So now we're getting into this year we'll be getting into the meteor parts of some composers, songwriters, and all these crazy guys and girls. Okay, so let's take a look at Mozart, and then tomorrow we're gonna go into more of the philosophy of what sounds good to us and what doesn't sound good to us, and what's that all about. So let's enjoy Mozart right now. Born January 27th,
1756.
His father taught him music, everything he knew about music, and his sister was also a composer, and the rest of his siblings died. But his sister was a composer, but after she got married, she wasn't allowed to perform music. So it shows you that there's still problems today in the world, but a little bit less than it's a little bit less antiquated than that. So, but he starts playing music by the time he's 4 years old, and starts playing the clavier, which is kind of like a piano, because pianos were kind of invented right around Mozart's time. It was mostly claviers and harpsichords, and those are keyboard instruments. But the piano was kind of brought in a little bit later in Mozart's life. And by the time he's 8 years old, he writes his first symphony. So obviously this guy's got talent, right? He was sickly as a child, though. He had smallpox, and he was about 5'4" in life, so he was a slight, short man, but had a great sense of humor, supposedly, and a weakness for crude jokes. So a lot of his humor was scatological, and in the letters that he would write with his sister, and so kind of juvenile but funny. So in that part in the movie Amadeus, they probably got that right, along with his laugh. Supposedly he really did have a high laugh like that was kind of silly. So he was, I think, not immature, but very serious in his work, and a little bit silly in his life, perhaps. There's probably a better word than silly, but we'll go with that for now. But loved life, and was very extroverted, but also suffered a lot from depression too. I think somebody said he spent his whole life looking for a job, so he would go to these different places, and they would pay him for music, but he never really made a great living. And when he did, he would blow all of his money, mostly on fine clothes and gambling. That's kind of that's why he died poor, and he was just never really good with money. Probably like most geniuses, they're not the most well adapted at functioning in the day-to-day real world, because they're just thinking about their art the whole time. So although he was open and honest and lived a fun life, he was lonely as a child, and he traveled a lot. His father would take him on the road, and he would miss his mother a lot, and he longed for affection from everybody that he met. And I'm not sure if that was ever, that seemed to be kind of maybe a lifelong struggle until he met his wife, Constanza, and they were madly in love with each other, and he wrote the Mass in C minor for her, and a lot of other music. But I think there were highs and lows in Mozart's life. Again, common with artists. So in the 1990s, these studies would come out that Mozart could make you smarter, and Mozart for babies, and this was proven by a lot of medical scientists that the brain's natural dislike of dissonant music that's not really consonant, that the consonance in Mozart's music indicates the important effect on our cognition, on how we process things. When we hear consonant melodies that are so prevalent in Mozart's music, that our brain is actually able to think clearer. Interesting. I mean, I believe it. I've never done a study, but it's become a phenomenon. It's hard to say, if I don't think it can hurt to listen to Mozart to make you become smarter, but there's definitely something about his music, as you can hear in some of these pieces. It's so soothing and relaxing, and what makes Mozart such a genius is it's exactly the kind of music that you feel like listening to. It's perfection. I never want to say art is perfect and objective, but boy, when it comes to Mozart, at least for me personally, perfection is a word that comes. It's perfect music. I don't think anybody else's music can be described like that, and but I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that too. Mozart's probably personally my favorite composer, and it's just it's this, for lack of a better word, perfect music. So because I do love the movie Amadeus so much, and like I said, there's fact and fiction. Amadeus, I think Peter Shaffer, it's a work of art. It's separate. It's using something real but creating another story, pretty much. So that's why I think, in terms of their own, Mozart's work, life is a work of art, and Peter Shaffer's work is a work of art separate from that. They're not. So I do want to show a scene that's probably one of my favorite scenes in all filmmaking, and then we're going to talk about why I showed this to you, and I'm going to ask you a question. Yes, there's homework again. So before we watch the clip, let me give you a little setup. The old man talking is Salieri, a composer that was very famous, that lived the same time as Mozart. And he's talking to a priest, and he's telling the priest how much he, it's complicated, how much he hates Mozart and how much he loves Mozart because his music is so good. So they're at this concert with the emperor, and Salieri is trying to find out which one of these guys is Mozart, because he's fascinated by him. He's intrigued by him. He wants to know what this little man looks like, and he finds out that he's fooling around with, Constanza, his wife, later, and being silly and making jokes in this little room. And once he finds out that that's this guy, he's like, why would God choose somebody so vulgar, or infantile, childish, immature? So when he finds out that that's Mozart, he can't believe it. Okay, so that's kind of the setup for this scene we're about to watch.
On the page, it looked nothing. The beginning simple, almost comic. Just a pulse. Bassoons, basset horns. Like a rusty squeeze box. And then, suddenly, high above it, an oboe. A single note hanging there, unwavering. Until a clarinet took it over. Sweetened it into a phrase of such delight. This was no composition by a performing monkey. This was a music I'd never heard. Filled with such longing, such unfulfillable longing. It seemed to me that I was hearing the voice of God. Excuse me. But why? Why would God choose an obscene child to be his instrument? It was not to be believed. This piece had to be an accident. But had to be. It better be.
So at first, Salieri wants to hate it, right? He wants to hate Mozart and hate his music because, you know, he's a composer too. He wants to be better than him, right? And when he's telling the priest, he's confessing to the priest, he's unable to hate it. He can't. There's something so beautiful about it. And if you listen to how he describes this piece, and this is the Grand Partita, one of Mozart's most famous pieces of all time, when he starts explaining it to the priest, it's like a rusty squeeze box, that dun, 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 dun. And he said it's almost comical, right? Until what? Until an oboe comes along. Now, why am I saying this to you? Do I want you to go and take oboe lessons or squeeze box lessons? No. Life is like that, right? Sometimes life is just basic and comical and just mediocre until something changes. So, what will be your oboe? What will be something that makes it, that changes your life? And then a clarinet comes in after that, right? So if we're just kind of floating around, what's something that's going to come to us and make us stand out, make our lives worth living in a way? That's your assignment. What's your oboe? What will it be? Is it falling in love? Is it marriage? Is it religion? Is it simply going for a walk and enjoying the day and realizing that life is precious and that every moment counts? I don't know. I'll think about it too. So, you know, I'm taking the homework assignment seriously too. I hope you enjoyed the class on Mozart. Genius will live on forever, has lived on forever. And we'll see you tomorrow for Tuesday's class.